Agatha All Along has come to a beautiful end, but along with it comes the reveal of this story stemming from one big lie. Welcome to Haynes for Heroes, I'm Alex Haynes, and if it's a movie or TV show about superheroes, you know I'm all over it. And I'm all over this 2-episode season finale of Agatha All Along, so let's break it down and try to predict what comes after this series. Spoilers ahead. So let's start in the beginning where Death is trying to make a deal with Agatha to have her convince Billy to turn himself over to Death. Because to Death, Billy is an abomination that goes against the natural order, merely because he was able to resurrect himself. And Death can't just kill Billy on her own because Billy would just resurrect in another body and she'll lose him again. I just think it's so cool that Billy is so powerful that he's able to withstand the natural order of the universe. Like, Death can't touch him. There's a phrase for something like that. It's called plot armor, but it's still cool. I also love how at the end of Death and Agatha's conversation, Death tore a hole through the backdrop of the scene, because like in that moment it does two things. One, it literally breaks the fourth wall and it just shows how much practical effects that they use in this series, which is amazing. And two, that's a big hint that the Witch's Road isn't real, but I'll get into that later. And then we get to the final trial of the Witch's Road, and this is the Green Witch trial, where you're supposed to bring life out of death, or in their case, they're confronting traumas. And it's in this trial that we find out that Agatha was the one that bound Jen, keeping her away from her powers for the past 100 years. I still would really like to know who that doctor dude was though. This leads to the beautiful scene of Jen unbinding herself from Agatha's curse, telling Agatha that you hold nothing, just repeating it, and every time she repeats it, it's just more and more of herself is coming back to life, and I'm like, oh my god, my heart. Like, Zashir Zamata killed this scene. It was so beautiful. Like, once Jen started crying and, you know, she had her magic back and put it to her heart, I was just like, I had to cry too. I had to cry too. And by doing this, Jen was able to successfully complete the trial and escape, because Agatha binding Jen, in a way, killed a part of who Jen was. And by Jen telling Agatha, you hold nothing, she brought that power within her back to life. I hope this leads to Jen appearing more in the MCU, potentially having a big partnership with the Man-Thing like she does in the comics. That would be so exciting because I love Jen and I love Man-Thing. I want to see them together and do magic stuff. Now for Billy, his trauma was the death of himself and Tommy at the end of WandaVision, but he finds out that he has Tommy's soul within him. That's why he was always sensing his presence, but he couldn't quite pinpoint it. With the help of Agatha, Billy is able to connect with Tommy's soul and then find him a new body somewhere out there in the world. Now Tommy is officially alive in a brand new body, and we're going to explore more of that in a future MCU series. But because Billy was able to bring Tommy, who was dead, back to life, he completes the trial, so he was able to escape. As for Agatha, we find out that the reason why she wears that locket is because inside of it is a piece of her dead son's hair. And behind his hair is a piece of a dandelion, which was her son's favorite flower. Agatha plants the piece of the dandelion and starts crying over the death of her son Nicholas, and her tears water the dandelion, which brings it to life. So in a way, through the death of her son, Agatha was able to create life, and she's able to escape the trial. Yay, now everyone's out of the Witch's Road, everything's totally fine, right? No. Because Death is waiting for Agatha outside of the road, and she's like, okay, no, we about to run it. But one thing I love about this opening fight between Agatha and Death is how, even though Agatha is classified as a covenless witch, I love that she used all the skills that she learned from the other witches within her coven. But of course, she's fighting literal death, so she is not powerful enough, but that's when Wiccan comes in for the save, and oh my god, Wiccan looks beautiful. Like, his costume design is straight from the comics, and it's just it's art. And speaking of costumes being on point, Death looks freaking amazing. Like, every outfit she's wearing just slays, and I especially love how she has the half skull face at times, which is apparently practical effects. Like, that's makeup and prosthetics. I thought that was CGI. But anyway, they both looked beautiful, they both looked straight out of the comic books, and I loved it so much it made me cry. But still, even with the combined powers of Wiccan and Agatha, they can't fight death. She's way too powerful. So Agatha sacrifices herself. She gives herself up to death, and she dies quite beautifully. Now here's the part where we figure out the big lie of this entire story. As it turns out, Billy was the one who created the Witch's Road using his hex powers. All unintentionally, of course. He had no control over it, much like Scarlet Witch didn't really have control over it in WandaVision, but still, he made the Witch's Road. Insane! And you can see clues of this in his bedroom with all the Wizard of Oz posters and toys, or the phases of the moon. It was all in his head, and he brought it to life. So Billy was able to create the Witch's Road out of necessity for finding his twin brother Tommy, but also because the Salem 7 were scaring the heck out of him, and that just kind of jump-started his abilities. And then once Billy realizes this, he's told by Agatha, who's now a ghost, that the Ballad of the Witch's Road itself was nothing more than one big con. This leads us back to episode 9, where we learn more about Agatha and her son Nicholas. When Nicholas was born, Death was supposed to claim him then, but Agatha made a deal with Death to give her more time. And during this time, while she's raising her son, Agatha is also using her son to help murder witches in order to steal their power. And at first I was thinking, oh, she's doing this as a way to keep Death off their back. But as the episode goes on, I'm just realizing, she's just evil. But at least she loves her son. But anyway, the Ballad of the Witch's Road was merely a song created by Agatha and Nicholas about traveling together down a windy road, but over time it evolved into the Witch's Road. In order to lure witches to Agatha, Nicholas would sing the Ballad of the Witch's Road to other witches as a way to gain favor with them. And through this, the Ballad of the Witch's Road was spreading amongst the witch community. And after the death of Nicholas, witches would go to Agatha with the Ballad of the Witch's Road, thinking it was a real place, and they would ask Agatha for help to get there. And from there, Agatha would create a new coven, but really she would just kill them and take their power. And this trend would continue for hundreds of years. But now we're back in present times, and Agatha is now a ghost because she's not ready to cross over to the other side and confront the spirit of her son. She feels like he would be disgusted by her. But I also love that Agatha is a ghost, one, because it's comic book accurate, and two, because Death hates ghosts, and I feel like Agatha is a ghost just to spite Death. But until Agatha's ready to move on, she's gonna be like a spirit guide to Wiccan, and I'm assuming other magical beings within the MCU, so I'm excited to see a lot more of her. But now as a ghost. So where is Agatha all along gonna lead us to? So we already know for sure that there's gonna be a series about Vision called Vision Quest, and I'm assuming it's gonna be him regaining his memories and potentially finding Wiccan. And then from there, it's gonna lead to another series about Wiccan and Vision finding Tommy. But there's still one family member left. Somehow Scarlet Witch has to return, and I think her return's gonna come in Avengers Doomsday. Because in one of the comics, Scarlet Witch and Dr. Doom have like a relationship, so I feel like they can do something along that lines, or maybe in Avengers Doomsday, Dr. Doom has mental control over Scarlet Witch, just to take advantage of her powers, but then she's rescued by Vision, Wiccan, and Tommy. And then from there, we'll finally have a Maximoff family reunion, and it will be adorable, and we'll all cry and be happy. But real quick, back in one of my previous videos, I made a promise to you. I'm telling y'all now, if Sharon doesn't somehow come back to life by the end of the season, I'm gonna put this defensive pillow through the dinner table. It's time.
Oh, God, no, for God's sake, get it! Mama Dudley has just powerbombed me!
But what did you think of the season finale of Agatha all along? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, cast a spell on the like button and then click on the boxes right here, and I'll see you in a bit.